Right. 30 minutes, 10 questions. Welcome to the Millionaires Hot Seat, where we put the pressure on millionaires to get their best kept secrets, strategies, and insights to building a million and oftentimes a multi-million-dollar business. For the next 30 minutes, you'll want to take notes so you can have more love, more money, more love, success, and happiness. My guest today is Matt Manero. Matt, are you ready to take the hot seat?
Come on, let's go. Fire it up. I like the theme. I like the format.
Awesome. All right. So we all know mindset is the #1 key to making millions. How do you keep your mind sharp, focused, and in the right space to accomplish your goals?
Listen, it's very challenging. I mean, I just posted on it the other day. I was with a billionaire not too long ago, and I was trying to impress him. He asked me a question of how many projects do we have going on in my office, and I wanted him to think that I was a real heavy hitter. So I said, we got at least 50 of them. And he goes like this, no. He said, you know how many we have in my office at any given time? I said, no. He said, 1 or 2. That's it. I pour all my resources into it. He says, if I can complete the project in a week, I can do 52 to 104 a year. He says, that moves the needle in the organization. So the key to focus is having less on your plate. Now, people misunderstand that when I tell them that. That means they say, well, you know, that means I have a light calendar. No. You have an extremely full calendar because you're pushing all in 1 or 2 things. So focus on less is a really important takeaway. Most people, including myself, have spent way too much time focusing on way too much stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I actually saw that post, and I was like, I only had 2 things on my list this month. Build a new book. This will be my 6th. And then furnish my house. So I think we're going in the right direction here.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if either of those put money in your pocket, though. One certainly takes money from your pocket. That's for sure.
Oh, the book definitely puts money in my pocket. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I tell people, like, you can't really make money on books, but if you do it the right way, you definitely can.
Good for you.
So do you listen to videos, audios, read? What other sources do you pull from?
Insatiable appetite for that stuff. I probably listen to 2 hours a day.
Yeah? Okay. Cool. Of what? Grant Cardone?
You know, I'm a huge Cardone fan, and I've become friends with Grant Cardone, but I listen to them all. I'm a insane Michael Gerber E-Myth fan. I've listened to E-Myth and multiple versions of that book probably 100 times. All the old school guys. I have to tell you, lately I've been getting back into Tony Robbins. I was a massive Tony Robbins fan in the early days, and then I got away from him for a long time, and I have gotten back into Tony Robbins in the last 6 months or so. And I'm upset with myself that I got away from him, because the power of belief is really what his message is. And I just don't think we spend enough time really understanding that perception, paradigm, how we look at things, how we move, all that sort of stuff, how important that is. So Tony Robbins is right now probably where I spend most of my time. But again, I listen to them all, and I don't care whether they're big names or not. I mean, if I see it on social, I'll fire up that YouTube video on my way to the office. I probably listen to 2 hours a day of it.
Okay, I'm obsessed with the same thing. Before I even got into business, I did thousands of hours of YouTube, and I've continued since. But when your mind wanders off, like, how do you get back on track? What do you do?
You know, I have to tell you, I have a very purposeful existence. You know, I have my wife and I have been married 18 years. We've got 3 amazing young boys, and I have my businesses, and all my businesses are part of my family as well. I talk about it in the book, The Grit, where I think one of the things that most people miss when it comes to their businesses, they don't treat it like a family member. My kids know that my businesses are child number 4. And if that means that I have to miss the soccer game or I have to cancel date night or something like that, it's just part of it. I would do that for them. I would move the schedule around to help them out too. So the business requires me to move the schedule around. That's the way it is. There's no guilt of any of that stuff in my world, period, end of story. And for people that are playing this business life balance game, it's all one big circle. It's one big circle. So I don't really get off point, to tell you the truth, too much. I mean, I have a wonderful assistant here, Sarah, who manages my calendar. And as long as I show up every day, it's full.
Yeah. So what if your mom dies, dog dies, kid dies, anything?
look, those are really meaningful things. I mean, I lost my brother-in-law a year and a half ago, 46 years old, a wife and 4 kids. The youngest kid has some learning disabilities. He died with no life insurance, no health insurance, and $100 in the bank. So I understand when you make that reference, I understand it personally, deeply personally. And again, it's all about life. Life exists today, right now, this moment. So, it's all just part of it. You just move stuff around and you make it all work. I mean, the beautiful part is when you're on purpose. The scary part is when you're not.
Yeah, I agree.
The scary part is when you wake up and you don't know what you're doing. Man, that's what's scary. You don't wait. When you wake up and know what you're doing, you're not scared. You're excited.
No, I 100% agree.
Those moving parts that happen in the world, in the existence of life, that's just part of it for me. It's not. It's just we just roll with the punches and go.
Right on. Awesome. No worry in Matt's world. How often?
A lot of worry, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, but it's all part of the game of what I consider a big life, right? I don't want a small life. I want a big life.
Yeah. All right. So how often do you listen to your inner voice, and how accurate has that been when it comes to making decisions?
So it's a good question. I listened to it for too long. I spent way too much time rebuilding my self-esteem from a childhood that was a little bit tough, and I didn't spend enough time listening to other people who could have helped me along that way. And so, to tell you the truth, I mean, I spend 6 figures a year in personal coaching and personal training. So I spend a lot of time listening to other people tell me about me now. And when I say that, I'm not talking about like therapist stuff. I'm talking about guys that help me move my needle, make more money, make me better, make me more efficient. And it's a big number for me. It's well into the 6 figures. And I should have done more of that earlier.
Okay. Why didn't you? Was it lack of money, lack of mindset, lack of something else?
It was lack of self-esteem. I was afraid that they would tell me that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough. I grew up with that environment. I grew up hearing that every day of my life until I left. And so I was afraid that people were going to tell me that I wasn't up to snuff. And in fact, it wasn't until I built a $100 million business that I began to actually say, well, now I am worthy, so let's go get better. And the sad part in that story is that if I had done it earlier, I wouldn't have wasted a decade building the business. I should have started asking those questions when we were 8 million, 10 million, 12 million. And maybe we'd be $1 billion today, which is what we're going for. And I truly believe that I wasted a decade of not feeling worthy enough to ask for people's help.
That's terrible. But it's what happens in most businesses, no matter like you talked about 100 million, no matter how many millions you're making, you can still feel unworthy.
It's exactly right. No matter how skinny you get, you can feel unworthy, right? It's all connected.
Testimonial for like my personal trainer, Glenn Dawson. So I've lost, about 60 pounds in the last probably 5 months. And I think there's like another 85 to go if I really want to like get to the very end. And it's funny because I said that I was like, I totally felt unworthy, like unsuccessful, no matter what I tried, shit wasn't working. And it wasn't that it wasn't working. It was that I didn't have the help that I needed. I didn't have the resources that I needed because I never asked for that. I just said, give me tips.
But look, again, you don't have to be in a position to drop that kind of cash for help. I mean, there's so many videos, there's so many books now, right? I mean, I remember little cassette tapes. I tell a story in the book where I kept a car way too long so I could continue to play these tapes. I needed to rebuild so much that I was more than willing to drive that old beater car just because I could drop those tapes in and they would help me with my mindset. So you don't need a lot of money to get that help. It's all over the place and it's free today.
Well, I mean, this is a great example. Like you and I are both giving our time so that other people can move up in the world, just like we both did. So we've all heard your network is your network. How do you choose your inner circle? Like what qualities or characteristics do you look for in people? Yeah,
number one quality I look for in somebody is they must be more successful than I am. I refuse to take advice from somebody who has not achieved what I have achieved. I always have to look up the ladder. That is a blessing and a curse, by the way, because it always kind of keeps you unsatisfied, right? You're always looking at the billionaire, or you're looking at the guy with the jet, and you're saying, well, you know, what am I doing wrong? How do I get to that? Where maybe so many other people are saying, well, how do I get to his level? But so number one requirement when you're looking for a mentor or you know, rebuilding your network is they must be more successful than you. That doesn't necessarily mean financially successful. For me, it's very important that they are, but you know, they could be holistic. They could be in better shape than you. Like my personal trainer, I fired a bunch of personal trainers until I found one guy who was like crazy big and ripped. I'm like, okay, now you and I can have a conversation, right? You're the guy I need to be around. So it doesn't have to be money driven of when you're trying to build that network. You're just looking for people who've done things better than you.
I agree with you 100% there. And they're easy to find nowadays. Like everyone's on social media, believe it or not. So some of the awesome people that I've connected with have always been on Facebook. And I would hear people like Darren Hardy of Success Magazine drop somebody's name and his tape in my car. And then I would go Facebook message them and I'd be like, hey, Claudia, what's happening? So you hear the name.
That's awesome. Hey, the one thing that people have to understand when they are trying to build that network is you have to ask. Mm-hmm. If you ask, they will say yes. It may take a little longer to fit into their schedule, but most of the time they will say yes. I have very few examples where I've asked for something for someone way above me who hasn't given me a few minutes. Now, you better bring your A game, right? You can't be a schlupp and walk in and say, you know, I'm thinking about starting. I mean, you gotta come prepared. They only got this much time for you, but they will give you the time most of the time. I have very few examples where I've been turned down.
Oh, I'm in the same situation. I ask millionaires every single day, hey, give me 30 minutes for free.
Right, and you get it.
Yeah, a mastermind of similar people is significant. How often do you meet with your inner circle, and what do you discuss? Do you discuss like relationship, sex, business, all kinds of other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the mastermind thing is not really something that I'm involved with, so I don't have sort of schedule. Yesterday I was on an offsite meeting with one of our board members who I brought down because we're finishing the strategic plan, this next growth plan for the business, and I needed some finishing touches on it. So I brought him down, but I don't attend masterminds. I don't attend networking meetings. I just have my circle of people that I can call. I can call the billionaire. I got another filthy rich guy that I can call. I can call Cardone on his cell phone. I can call Larry Winget or Jeffrey Gitomer. I mean, I can get those guys on the phone, and I have a prepared conversation. It's not, hey, what's going on? You know, what do you have for? I mean, it's, hey, I got two things I need to talk to you about. They're like, let's go. Boom, I get what I need, and we move on. So I hear so many people going to these masterminds. I mean, it's not where I want to spend my time. I mean, I know where I'm going. And I know who I can connect with to get me there. I don't need to sit in a room with strangers sort of, you know, playing kumbaya. I mean, you know, and I'm not saying all masterminds are like that.
So I have to say, like last week I got invited to a BNI meeting for the first time, and basically the guy calls me and he goes, are you prepared to submit an application and become part of the group? I said, I'm sorry, I'm not. It's just not for me. Like, I got my circle. I call them on the phone, 10 people, an hour a week. There's no payoff for me. I'm not going to pay you for a referral.
It's great. It's great. It's power to be in a position to do that. It's powerful. I mean, and I'm not saying that masterminds don't work. I mean, there's a need for them, I suppose. But it's not my world. It's not that I've evolved past it. I think I've just sort of built something outside of that world that works for me.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So the more you hang around successful people, the more successful you become. What habits do you have on a daily basis that increase your productivity and bottom line?
Without question, for me, it's movement. So I have to start my day with movement. You know, weight has been an issue for me my whole life. So I'm the type of guy, literally, like if I don't work out for 3 days, I can put on 10 pounds.
Oh.
And so I have to move all the time. I even bring in a personal trainer here to my office 3 days a week, and we run a boot camp out in the parking lot for anybody. The company pays for it because I believe the movement is so important. I'll give you a personal story. We had one of our ops people who the guy was with us a year. I bet he didn't say 100 words to anybody in that year. Not that he was a bad guy. He was just brutally quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started doing the boot camp. And about 3 months later, he came in and quit and said, I've learned so much here from you guys. You've motivated me so much. I'm going out and I had this dream to start this home healthcare business to help people. I'm going to do that. And I guarantee you, if he didn't do the boot camp, didn't start doing the boot camp, move, get physical, he never would have had that change in his confidence to go do that. So the number one thing I do is I move every day, get physical. I work up a sweat. I write a note to my kids every morning before I leave. If I leave and they're still asleep, I write them a little love note with my wife's thing in there too. I do that every single day. And we keep those, by the way. We have stacks of them now in a bucket in the garage. So the kids can maybe later on see how we talk to each other, and maybe they can do it. I get a lot of motivation, video and reading and listening to that stuff. And then I have a very clear calendar, a very full calendar. No white space on the calendar. I've talked about it a lot on social media. It's mission critical. Most people can do so much more than they think they can.
Yeah. I mean, Grant Cardone teaches this. I teach this. You teach this. There's no time to do anything but what you love.
Look at a guy like Vaynerchuk. I mean, you know, that guy will snap at 2 in the morning, and then he'll snap again at 5 in the morning. I mean, you think you're pushing, I think I'm pushing. I know Cardone pushes, but then you get a guy like Vaynerchuk who puts us all to shame, you know? I mean, there are people pushing at levels so much greater than us who are pushing at high levels.
The only thing I would say to that is, what cost does it come?
It does come with a cost, but there is nobody, no CEO of any publicly traded company, no person who's very well heeled hasn't paid a price. That price that they pay, hear me on this one if you don't mind, the price they pay is less. That price they pay is less than the price that the person who didn't pay the price is paying. Because when you're not in a position to help your brother-in-law when he's dying from cancer and he's busted broke, when you can't pay all his bills and you can't take that financial worry away from his family, his wife and his kids in that moment, that 1 year where we tried to get him healthy and we lost the battle. When you can't do that, that's the price. The price of not going to date night or missing the soccer game is nothing in comparison to not being able to financially help them. And when you can financially help them, when you can write that check and it doesn't impact your life one bit, but it impacts theirs tremendous, that's power. It
is. I literally just had this conversation with my parents. I mean, I had truckloads of furniture brought in, and my mom said something to me, and she's like, you know, I wished I had this. I was like, you will, just wait till Christmas.
There you go. Nice.
I've been begging them, just please let me pay off your real estate so it doesn't become a burden later on. Just let me do this for you because I can. It doesn't affect me.
It's powerful. It's very, very powerful. So again, whatever price you paid to reach your success, it's not much of a price, is it?
It isn't. It isn't. So how much water are you drinking per day? What other things do you do in your daily routine?
Yeah, I mean, look, my daily routine is fill all white space. So I have a lovely boat. I take my kids out on the boat. Anytime they ask me, I just simply say, fine, I'll meet you at the dock at 5:30. Let's go. I go to the farmer's market almost every Saturday morning with my wife. It's one of the things we just love to do. I just got back from a week in Belize. Last week I was in Belize. So listen, there's time for all of it. There's time for all of it. Cardone taught us all this. Cardone told us that our interpretation of time is wrong, right? We must control time rather time controlling us. And when we really make that Stephen Covey paradigm shift, it really opens up everything to you. So I probably get 6 hours of sleep, most of it not very good, healthy sleep. I think a lot during the night. I was just thinking last night, I was like, man, I got to finally break down and buy one of those pillows, those My Pillows I see on the infomercials. I'm going to buy one of those, man. Yeah, that's right. The guys from Minneapolis. Yeah. I'm like, I got to get one of those, man, because my pillow sucks. I don't sleep good with this pillow. I'm going to buy like 10 of them and see if I, put them in all the beds. But So listen, the question of daily habits and stuff like that, daily habits for me are move, show some love to my kids, make sure that they know that I care about them, I'm thinking about them even when I'm not there, and stay ridiculously busy. Like coming back from Belize, you know, everybody, we went with another couple and they were like, oh, you know, it's so sad. I'm like, dude, I'm ready. Let's go. I mean, Belize is just part of my life. It's not like work is worse than Belize. I mean, if it was, I'd change it, right? I mean, so living a life that leaving Belize is such a horrible thing is a horrible life, if you ask me, man.
Oh, I agree. I left Mexico after 10 days and I was like, let's go. Where's the next destination?
Let's go. Book it on the calendar. Put it down. Let's rock and roll. It's exactly what I told my wife. Let's do it again. Not back to Belize, though. I'm not going back to Belize. I didn't like Belize that much.
Okay, so money and fulfillment are things ultimately everyone wants. They're also things that make businesses thrive. But Matt, what drives you?
I'm driven from desperation. I mean it. I cannot stress enough how when people of influence you the wrong way, how much time it takes to fix that, right? And what I'm really getting at, my real dad left when I was 6 months old. I never met him. I never saw him again. And then my mother eventually remarried to a guy who, you know, he loved me to the best that he could, but he was a tool, and constantly used to say to my sister and I how stupid we were. We're dumb. We're idiots. We're morons. I come from a place of desperation that you couldn't put a price tag on it. No matter what I achieve, I can never get away from trying to prove that SOB wrong.
Okay, that's fair enough. How do you avoid or
That's the truth.
fear, self-sabotage, and procrastination?
I don't procrastinate much. I have many times in my life. I don't procrastinate much. When I go, I go. Fear is real, you know, but it's really just a matter of readjusting your belief system connected to the fear. Then it usually goes away. I mean, I did my radio show today at 10 o'clock and I was afraid to go on the radio. I've done 150 radio shows and I was afraid again to go on the radio, which, by the way, I love that feeling. I don't know if you like that feeling.
It's
I love that feeling.
It's so funny because before we got on this, I was like, why do I have the pit in my stomach yet again? This is like, I do this every day.
We don't want to lose that fear. We don't. That fear is such a wonderful thing. It tells us that we're pushing at the level that we need to push at. And you and I both know that only good things come from that. I mean, I have so many wonderful experiences that come after me being afraid than I do things that I should have been afraid of. So we need to remove the fear. We really need to not let fear stop us. It's just never going to be that bad. And listen, I've had it real bad, you know. I mean, I've had it bad. And by the way, a guest I had on the radio show today was telling me that, you know, I was able to get her to talk about this because everybody on the radio show wants to talk about their book and all this sort of stuff, right? I was like, listen, I want to talk about when it was bad. And she said, she tried to avoid. I said, no, listen, I'm not getting off it. I want to know your worst moment. And she started to get a little teary-eyed. She said, my worst moment was when I went bankrupt, both business and personal. My house was foreclosed on and I lived in my car for 3 months. I'm like, now we got a radio show. Now we're talking, because she's done amazingly well afterwards, right? But we need to, you know, we need to realize that bad can be really bad.
Oh, yeah, I mean, most people know my story. You don't, but I'll give you the quick version. So I was 50 grand in debt, 5 maxed out credit cards, lived in my car. The car got repossessed. So I landed on the streets for 36 days, went to jail for 6 days for speeding, and built a multi-million-dollar business 7 years later. So, I mean, I lived with my parents for 3 years, like, hey, I gotta do something different. That's where the books and the audios came in, and I didn't date. I didn't have a job. I told my dad, fuck you, I'm gonna do this. And he's like, you can't, because I'm successful building a business. I was like, that's too bad, because I'm going to be. I don't care.
Good for you, man. That's it. I don't know anybody who, and by the way, when you lead a big life, those little badges of honor just are blips on the radar screen. They take some people down for good, but for the players, it's just a little blip on the radar screen.
Oh yeah, for sure. What about self-sabotage?
I think I'm done with that game. I really do. I don't think I did enough of that. You know, I don't. Listen. I have an amazing wife who she's not a business person at all. Could care less about business. Maybe because she knows she doesn't have to worry about it. But my wife is my biggest fan. You know, I talk about it in my book. I mean, I used to come home and my wife would say, one day you'll realize it, Matt, you're bigger than your business. One day, this little business that you've created that's taken so much time, you'll realize you're bigger than this. And she was right. And I built a big business and made a lot of money in the process. And I would have to say I give her the credit because I was self-sabotaging my own confidence, my own potential, my own abilities, and she helped bring it out of me. She didn't bring it out the way I wanted her to bring it out, but she brought it out.
They never do. Believe me, they never do.
She's tough, man. My wife is tough on that.
It's seriously like getting hit over the head with a frying pan after you think you've been like ultra successful, like boom, here you go.
Totally. That's great. That's exactly what it was like, yeah.
How much of your life is outsourced and what do you consider to be your zone of genius?
Yeah, you know, I think it's an important thing to figure out what is your superpower, right? What are you exceptionally good at? I'm an exceptionally good salesperson. And I don't mean that like most people might think about it where, you know, well, I could sell ice to Eskimos. That's not selling to me. I mean, I'm talking about building an overall solution that beats the competition and serves the customer for a long time. I'm really, really exceptional at that. And I'm fortunate that I have some people on my team who are equally good at that now. So my superpower is selling at an extremely high level of the art form. And then also I think I have this incredible commitment to beat the other person. I'm insanely competitive. I say to new salespeople in my office, I said, listen, the math isn't in your favor. You could work every Saturday and Sunday until it's over, and you still won't work as many Saturdays and Sundays as I have. So I like that, right? I like that win. I like that I can outwork the person. And by the way, work is a ridiculously important thing for me. I'm not looking to take it easy. I'm looking to stay deep in the trenches of commitment and growth, because I believe once you move away from that, I think you begin to lose your edge, and it's such a clouded and crowded marketplace that general doesn't work, right? It really, I don't think it does. I think, as I say in the book, experts only, amateurs get crushed, and I truly believe that. I mean, and they do. They get wiped. They may win for a while. They'll win in a good economy, but as soon as it starts to get tight, man, they get whacked.
Yeah, so I've got a client. We just tripled her business in 84 days and doubled the amount of revenue that she paid me, and then I doubled her investment. And now she's suddenly so smart that she's going to go off on her own and do her own thing. And I was like, this is the absolute worst thing you can do for your business right now. You are about to crash into the ground at lightning speed, and you have no idea what's about to hit you. So it's amazing, like no matter how much money you make or what end of the spectrum you're at, she's actually at less than 100,000 in revenue. So I said to her, this is gonna be your first 100,000 year, and then boom, here we go. Like
yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
But,
nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing.
So what is the number one thing that you would tell people to stop doing today that could dramatically change and impact their life?
I tell you, I think the answer to that is stay out of false positive, which is what that client you just referenced is in. False positive is a ridiculously dangerous place, and I define it as, you know, thinking you are doing better than you're doing. I mean, let's look at it. Your client you just referenced has a business that's generating $100,000 a year. I mean, that's not in personal income. That's what the business generates. But he or she thinks that they're doing, you know, so well. I mean, we get caught up in it. When you move the needle up, it makes false positive that much more dangerous. So how many people do we know who are knocking down 250? Their husband or wife doesn't work anymore. They just bought the big house. They've got the 2 cars. They did the boat. They did the 20 grand in Belize. And they think they're killing it at 250. I mean, that's false positive. And it's hard. You got to stay out of false positive, and it moves, right? I mean, because at 500 or a mil, you might just be burning through more cash. You need to stay out of false positive. You need to know what you can live on. If I told you what I live on, what I operate my house at, you would be amazed. And the reason for that is because I believe that stacking and racking cash is the key. It's not.
Okay, what do you operate on, Matt? I'm at 2317. That's my household operational budget per month.
Per month?
Yeah, $2,317 will get me through the entire operation.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were saying 23,000.
Oh no.
I didn't know 2,300.
300.
Well, yeah, I mean, I operate my house at 150 grand a year. So my whole household lifestyle, all that sort of stuff, on 150 grand a year, which I think most people would think is ridiculously cheap. But
yeah. So you've got a wife and 3 kids. I'm single, so I think I'm good at at that. So thank you for joining me. Where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, so they could just go Matt Manero on Google, on YouTube. It's Matt Manero on all social media platforms. We made it real easy in that regard. For the month of August, I'm giving away the ebook of the grit. So they can go to mattmanero.com/ebook and get a copy of the book for the month of August. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. But, are you going to ask me that final question, which I was so interested in answering?
Oh, yeah, off air, but I can totally ask it on air too. So, Matt, how can I add value to you and your business?
Everybody knows somebody in transportation. Everybody knows somebody. You got furniture being moved, don't you?
I do.
There's a mover.
ABI
there's a truck. And everybody knows somebody who knows somebody in transportation, whether it's a dump truck, a big rig, an Uber, a taxi cab, it doesn't matter. And when that pops into your head, I want you to think about my company, Commercial Fleet Financing, because we do the financing of that type of equipment, and we have for 21 years. So everybody knows somebody in transportation, and we're the company that loves to finance those transportation people.
Well, that's awesome, because when they were in my house moving this stuff yesterday, the guy's like, can I just call you for an hour of advice? I said, sure thing. Do you want to write a check now or later? Like, I also love your books. I'm like, no problem. I'll throw those in for you.
That's great. That's great. I loved it. It was fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me on the Millionaires Hot Seat. It's been an amazing show. Tons of gold nuggets and actionable items. Guys, if you want to come out and race Lambos, skydive, do all sorts of crazy, awesome, fun stuff to get your mind out of the business and on to growing the business, I would love to host you at my house. You can find out more about that at melissakravachik.com. So go take what Matt said and actually implement it. Matt, that's a wrap.
Thanks so much, Melissa. I enjoyed it fully. Thank you.